So, welcome to the third day of the Selenium C# training. So today we will discuss about interfaces, what is an interface and how the interfaces are used in Selenium as well. We will discuss that also. So in the last class we discussed some few concepts of the OOPS programming language, like what is an object, how do you declare an object, then what do you mean by static and non-static, and the basic drivers, how do you declare the driver classes in your Visual Studio project, that we discussed in the last class. So now let's talk about the interfaces. What is an interface? Okay, as like in the last lecture we discussed what do you mean by a class, what do you mean by an object and all everything, and then the question which arises is that we had discussed the driver concepts as well. Now the question which arises is, everything has a driver, whether it is your Firefox driver or it is the IE driver, or it is your Chrome driver, or it is the Safari driver. Everything has a driver. So then will you be learning the driver classes separately? Okay, let me just open my previous first day project in which we discussed the driver classes. Okay, yes, so I was telling you that since we know that everything has a driver, so then will we be learning the driver classes separately? If we have to work upon say Firefox browser only, or say Chrome browser only, I don't want to work on the Firefox, or I don't want to work on the IE, I just want to work on the Chrome browser. So will I have to create so then the approach to work with the Chrome browser will it be different as we will work with the Firefox or the IE browser? Will I have to create the object of each and every driver class separately? What if a single script I want to run on multiple browsers? So how will you do that? Well, this concept is actually addressed under the concept of interfaces. Okay, say for example, let me just tell you some simple situations. Say for example, if you go to a big bookstore, the you just see the front and the back cover, okay, and then you judge that fine, this book is offering us these many topics, and if I want to learn these topics, then I'll surely buy that book. Or if you go to a restaurant, then what, you will just look into the menu. Okay, you will order the food, you look into the menu, you order the food. How the food is going to taste, that we don't know. So menu is like an interface which tells us what that menu is offering to us. Similarly, interfaces describes what the project will do, what all commands and features will be there in the project will be addressed under the concept of interfaces. For example, say if I go to the official website of Selenium only, seleniumhq.org website, I go to the documentation of C#. Alright, now in this documentation also we have various interfaces listed in it. Say for example, let's say consider any interface. Say for example, I open the mouse interface, which provides us the methods representing the basic mouse actions. Okay, alright, so these are all the functions which are present under the mouse interface, which are provided by the mouse interface. So how it is implemented, we don't know. We will just describe the functionalities. We'll just call this click function. If we have to click on any element, if we have to click on any button or link, we'll just call this click function. How this click function is performed behind the screen, what code is written to actually click on the button, we don't know. We will just call the functions that are described under this mouse interface, and then our functionality will be done. Alright, so interface helps us know what the system does. For example, the keyboard provides us the interface between the buttons. We press the buttons and something happens on the screen. Okay, how it is all done, how this functionality, this operation is going on, we don't know. We don't know anything. Okay, so similarly in C# as well, we have the interface. Say for example, I'll just close all the previous projects. Say I'll create a new project, file, new, create project. and say I'll add a console application. Say this is your third day project, and we'll just browse to my location. And in this class, say suppose I add new item. In the third project I add a new item, that is, say I'll add an interface now. Okay, so for example I add an interface known as the phone interface. Now what is an interface? Well, in an interface, the first point is we only have function declaration. There is no implementation in the interface. Okay, only function declaration is there in an interface, no implementation. Now what do you mean by that? Say for example we have the phone interface. Now what all properties a phone has, what all functions will a phone have? Say for example it has the functionality of calling. Okay, we have to call from the phone, so I declare a function call function. Okay, now I declare the call function, I will not implement it. Say for example if you try to implement the call function, I open my curly braces and close the curly braces, and in between you will write your logic inside the call function which you want to implement. But then you see that it shows us the error. It says that interface members cannot have a definition. We cannot define the functions. You cannot define the members inside an interface. So this is one point, you can only declare the functions. Alright, so I cannot define my functions, I cannot implement my functions inside an interface. Okay, so that goes your first point. Similarly, say suppose I have one more function, text function. Okay, these are the two functions which a phone has, call and the text functions, and then we have only declared the two functions, not implemented. Alright, so what will happen is, like, if a layman will look at this phone interface, he will easily understand what a phone is offering to us. Fine, this phone is offering to us the functionality of calling and texting. Okay, so this is one point. Then secondly we cannot print anything inside an interface. Like how will you print? Say for example since we are not implementing, we cannot implement the functions inside an interface. So then what is the need? Like why will you write anything to, why will you like print anything inside an interface? Say if you write console.writeLine, and if you try to print anything, we cannot do so. You see that we cannot do so, we can see the error. Alright, so console.writeLine, this printing statement will be coming inside an function only. Like if you have the main function, then inside the main function only you write the command to print something. Since inside this interface we don't implement the functions, we don't define the functions, so we cannot print something as well. Alright, then next is, there is no public access specifier inside an interface. There is no public access specifier. The functions inside an interface are public by default only. Okay, so for example if you try to declare these functions as public, it is public. Okay, if I try to declare my call function as public, then again we can see the error. It says that the modifier public is not valid for this item. The public modifier access specifier is not valid for this call item. So that goes your next point, is that there is no public access specifier. The functions inside an interface are public by default only, so we cannot again declare them as public. Alright, then next is, we cannot declare the fields inside an interface. Declare the fields, you cannot declare the fields inside an interface as we can do inside an class. Say for example, this is your program.cs, this is your class file, inside this class file you can declare the variable, you can declare the fields. Say string x is equal to you initialize it to null. Okay, we can declare the variables, we can declare the fields inside an class. But if we try to do the same thing inside an interface, say string x is equal to some value, okay, then you cannot do so. You can see that there is an error below this x keyword. It says that interfaces cannot contain fields. The interface, inside an interface you cannot declare the fields. Okay, so that goes your next point. So these are the 3 points. Okay, that is firstly, inside an interface there is only function declaration. We cannot define the functions, we cannot implement the functions inside an interface. Okay, so then if the layman will look into this interface, he will easily understand what the phone is offering to us, what all extra functionalities, like how the call function is actually implementing, and all this cannot be judged seeing directly at the interface. But we can just judge that what a simple phone, what any phone will offer to us. Okay, then next is the functions inside an interface are public by default only, you cannot declare them as public again. Then we cannot declare the fields inside an interface, that is the next point. Alright, so these are the few concepts of the interface. Now let us say, suppose I add a new class, I add a class into my project. Say I have a class known as the Nexus class. I'll declare this class as, say, public. Inside the class we can declare the we have the public access specifier and all everything, but inside an interface you don't have any public access specifier. Okay, alright, so we have a class with us, Nexus class. Now we know that Nexus is a phone. Alright, so Nexus will also have the functionality of calling and texting. Okay, so what we can do is, we can again, what you can do is, you will again declare the two functions. Okay, you will again declare the two functions, call, say I again, hold on, say I will again declare my two functions, call and the text functions, right? You can declare, but then since we have already declared the call and the text functions inside an interface, so then what now we will do is that this Nexus class will implement the phone interface, which actually has the two functions already declared, call and the text functions. Alright, so how it is all done? You can simply say that Nexus will simply implement the phone interface. Yes, Zam? Should the function written with uppercase? No, it's not necessary. Like you see that the main function inside the class, the main function is actually M is capital in C#, but in Java you have M small only. Okay, but it's not necessary that the functions has to be in uppercase. It is not necessary, it is nothing like that. You see that I have this call function which is in the lowercase only, I haven't declared it in the uppercase. It's not necessary, but the main function, the M of the main function has to be capital, it has to be in uppercase. This is the rule in C#, but in rest for all the other functions it's not necessary. Sorry. Alright, so I have this Nexus class with me, and since we know that Nexus is a phone, so it will also have the functionality of call and the text function. So then what it will do is, it will implement the phone interface. Okay, we can simply implement the phone interface. Okay, and then now in the class, the nexus in the class, which is your class, it is necessary that you need to implement the functions which are declared inside an interface. Now in the interface we have only declared the functions. Now in the class which is actually implementing the phone interface, which is implementing the respective interface, in that class you will have to implement both the functions, or rather all the functions that are actually declared inside an interface. Alright, okay. For if you don't declare the functions, if you don't implement the functions in the class which is implementing the interface, then you get the error. It says that nexus does not implement the member call and nexus does not implement the member text. It is not implementing the two functions call and the text functions. So then we will have to implement the two functions, that is we have public void call. I will have to implement, say I'll write anything inside it, say call someone, and similarly I'll have to also implement the text function as well, public void text, and I implement this function as well. Alright, so it is necessary to implement all the functions in the class which is implementing the interface, otherwise you will get the compilation error. Now say I have one more class with me, add new item, and say I add a new class which is your iPhone class. Okay, I have one more class with me, iPhone class, and I declare this class as public, and then we know that iPhone is also a phone, right? So it will also have the functionality of calling and texting. So what we can do is that we can simply say that iPhone will implement the phone interface. Okay, and then this phone interface sorry, and then this phone interface this iPhone class has to implement the two functions declared in the phone interface. So then we will have to implement the two functions. Either you can write on your own, implement the two functions as we have done in the case of the nexus class, or else if you simply hover your mouse over the phone, this phone keyword, this phone interface, you click on this yellow bulb, this down arrow, and then you say implement interface, and then both the functions, all the functions will be implemented. It will be implemented automatically. You just need to write the logic inside the function. Okay, so for example I say iPhone calling, and I implement the text function, iPhone text. Okay, so I have these two functions now implemented in my phone interface as well. Alright, and now the question which again arises is that right now what we have is we have two classes with us and we have one interface. Okay, this is your phone interface which has two functions declared in it, call and the text functions. And then we say that we have two classes with us. There is one class nexus class and another class iPhone class, and then we are saying that both the classes are implementing the phone interface which has the two functions, call and the text functions. So if both the classes are implementing the phone interface, then these two functions have to be implemented in the implementing classes, that is the call and the text functions will have to be implemented in the two classes as well. Okay, but then the question is why we need to then declare the interface. What is the need of declaring the interface? We can just remove this phone interface and we can directly work with the classes. in the class let's just declare the two functions, and again in the iPhone class also we'll declare the two functions. What is the need of declaring the interface first and then the classes, and then calling the interface, implementing the interface in the respective classes? The reason is say for example, say tomorrow a new class comes into your project, say that is your Sony class. Okay, tomorrow a new class comes in, that is the Sony class. Now we know that Sony is also a phone. It also has the functionality of calling and texting. It also has the functionality of call and text. So then if this Sony class, if this Sony phone implements the phone interface, if it implements the phone interface, then automatically it is understood by the layman that these two functions will surely be present in the Sony class as well, if the Sony class is implementing the phone interface. So rather than creating the same functions in all the classes, in all the respective classes, you can just declare them in one interface. Okay, and all the classes which are present will simply implement the phone interface, will implement that interface. So implementation can be different, it will be different, no doubt. The way Nexus calls and the way the iPhone calls or the way the Sony calls, these will be different, right? These will be different, but the name of the functions will be same. Call, text, the name of the functions will remain same in all the classes implementing the interface. Alright, similarly the interfaces are present in Selenium as well. For example, we have seen this mouse interface. I is just the naming convention in C# that the interfaces, for the interface we declare the I letter first in order to denote that this mouse is actually an interface, it is not the class. Okay, just the naming convention in C#. So mouse is an interface in Selenium as well. Alright, we have seen, and the most important interface in Selenium is your WebDriver interface. You see that we have this WebDriver interface. Okay, and all the driver classes, whether it is your Firefox driver, Chrome driver, IE driver, all the driver classes are implementing this WebDriver interface. So everything is inbuilt. We like everything, entire thing is inbuilt inside Selenium. We are not doing anything. We don't know how, like from where are the driver classes coming, how it is implementing the WebDriver interface. We don't know anything, right? We are just calling the functions, we are just calling the interface, or whether it is anything, the functions, the classes inside the documentation, and then we perform the functionality. In the C# documentation we cannot see, like it has not listed the driver classes, but if you look the Java documentation, let me just show you. Okay, let me show you the WebDriver. Hold on, yes. Yeah, so you see that this interface WebDriver, and these are all the classes, all the driver classes. You see that Chrome driver, Edge driver, Firefox driver, IE, Opera, Safari, all the driver classes are implementing this WebDriver interface. So all the driver classes are actually implementing are in this WebDriver interface. But in the C# documentation, it has not listed all the driver classes, but this is actually the case. You can see in the Java documentation as well. Alright, and then you see that in this WebDriver interface only, we have all the functions. Let me just show you the C# documentation only. It will be confusing. Okay, I open my WebDriver interface, and in the WebDriver interface you see that you have various functions in order to navigate to a particular URL. There is a URL function, then to print the title function, to close the browser, okay, to find the elements on the web page, to quit the browser. You have all the functions, and for that only I think we haven't discussed all the driver classes in the Firefox driver also. So in the Firefox driver also we will have this URL function. Similarly in the Chrome driver also we will have the URL function. Similarly in the IE browser also we will have this URL function. Now why? It is because all the driver classes are implementing this single WebDriver interface in which you have all these functions. Alright, so then what is the basic usage of an interface? The first point is like as we discussed, the functions are same in all the implementing classes. Functions are same in all the implementing classes. Say for example in Selenium, if we talk about URL function, every class will have this URL function. Every driver class will have this title function. Every driver class will have this navigate function, will quit function. And similarly if you look into the C#, you saw that every class has the call and the text function, which is actually declared in the phone interface. So functions are same in all the implementing classes. Alright, and if we take okay, if we let's implement, and the second usage is, let me just explain you with the help of an example. So for example, if I go to Yahoo Mail, I'll try to log in into my Yahoo Mail. Okay, all right, now your script, the example which we will, now the question is, which we have to do is, now I want to log in inside my Yahoo Mail. So then what you have to do is, you will have to first of all navigate to this URL. Okay, you go to the login URL of the yahoo.com. Then after that you need to enter the username. Say I enter any username and I say yahoo.com, and then I click on this next button. Okay, like you will have to enter a valid username over here, valid email ID. Then you click on the next button. Okay, and then you need to enter the password, and then you have to log in inside your Yahoo Mail. And the main question over here is, you have to execute this script, that is the script to log in inside the Yahoo Mail in all the three browsers. You have to execute the same script in all the three browsers, that is your Chrome, Firefox and IE browser. So how will you do that? Let's see how we can execute this single script in all the three browsers. So let me just add a new class, say Yahoo example it is. Okay, and inside this let me just first of all add a main function to it. Alright, so I have this main function with me. Now inside this, first of all what I'll do is, say I declare a string variable browser, and then you specify the browser, on which browser you want to execute your script. Say suppose I want to execute my script on the Mozilla browser, and if you want to give some another browser information, if you want to run your script on the Chrome, you can give it in the Chrome, or else if you want to execute on IE, then you can give the IE value as well. So right now we are actually reading this value, we are hard coding this value over here inside our Visual Studio Code only. But tomorrow, but as we go with our course, we will see how, like actually how we can read this parameter from some external file. Okay, that is either from the configuration file or from the Excel file. How can you read this value? We will see that also. So right now, since this is the beginning of our online class only, right now we'll just try to read this parameter from this code itself, from this Visual Studio, from the same file itself. Okay, so suppose I want to run my script on the Mozilla browser. So I have this Mozilla declared with me, and then I keep a check over here that you say that if browser equals if browser equals Mozilla, then what we have to do is you have to declare your Firefox driver, right? So we have to declare the Firefox driver. So let me just declare my Firefox driver. Then okay, I think we have to include, yes, we have to add the Selenium DLLs also firstly. So I'll just add it from the nugget. I'll download the WebDriver DLLs and I click on install. Okay, it has been downloaded. And then we'll import the class for it using openqa.selenium, and we will have to first of all initialize the Firefox driver service class is equal to Firefox driver service dot create default service, and then inside this you need to pass the path of the gecko driver.exe file. So I have my gecko driver exe file over here in this path. I'll just take this path. Okay, I don't think we need to pass this path. Okay, let me just give the path, and then we give the name of the gecko driver's exe file. Okay, or else you can directly initialize the Firefox driver also. I think I have told you in the first class also, since we have already set the path of this gecko driver's exe file in the environment variable, so there is no need to again declare them over here. Okay, so what I will do is I will just create the object of my Firefox driver. Firefox driver fd is equal to new Firefox driver. Okay, you just call your Firefox driver. If the browser equals Mozilla, then your Firefox driver should be initialized. Else if the browser, if it equals Chrome, then you have to initialize your Chrome browser, right? Then the Chrome browser should be opening. So I have Chrome driver cd is equal to new Chrome driver, and for the Chrome driver also we have already set the path in the environment variable, so we'll not set it again. Okay, else if the browser, if it equals IE, then it should it should open your Internet Explorer driver. So we'll import the class for this as well, and IE is equal to new Internet Explorer driver, and for the IE also we have already set the path for it. Alright, so I have this Internet Explorer driver initialized now, and then if you have to, so this will open the respective browser, and then after that what we have to do is we have to navigate to this particular URL, right, in order to log in inside the application. So I will say that fd.url is I have to navigate to this URL. Similarly, if the browser equals Chrome, then first of all it will open the Chrome browser, then it has to again navigate to the Yahoo URL, okay, yahoomail.com URL. Similarly, if the browser equals IE, then it will first of all will open the IE browser, and then it will have to navigate to the respective URL, and then after navigating to the URL you will then have to enter the username, click on the next button, enter the password, and click on the sign in button. Okay, so that also. But then over here if we carefully see that writing this same information, this fd.url, this cd.url, writing this same command again and again for each and every if else statement, and rather next we have to identify the username field. Alright, so identification, after you navigate to the URL you will identify the username field. So you will like write the command driver dot find element and all, everything we will write. So writing the command to identify the username, we will write the command same in all the we will write it again. If the browser equals Chrome, then on the Chrome browser also we will identify the username field. Similarly, in the IE browser also we will identify the username. So writing the same commands again and again in all the if else statements, which is not a good practice, which will not look good, right? Which will obviously not look good. So how will you resolve this issue? Well, we will actually resolve this issue with the help of interfaces. With the help of interface, we will see how can we resolve this issue of not writing the same code again and again in our script, in our particular script. So how will you do that? Let me just explain you. Let's come back to our phone example first, and then we'll see the implementation in our Yahoo exercise also. Right. So what I have is, now I'll just rename this program.cs file to say test phone, okay, which has your main function in it. Alright, so inside my main function, what I'll do is let me create the object of my phone interface. You create the object. Now how will you create the object of your phone interface? You have phone, say p is equal to new phone. You try to declare the object of the phone interface, okay. But then if we declare the object of the phone interface, we can see the error coming up over here. The error says that you cannot create an instance of the interface phone. That is, the error says that we cannot create the object of an interface. So the rule number 1 is we cannot create the object of an interface, since interface is nothing. It is just a skeleton. If you see the phone interface, inside the interface we are not doing anything. You see that we are only declaring the two functions. We are not writing anything. We are not implementing the functions inside the interface. So then what is the need of creating the object of an interface? You will not achieve anything declaring the object of an interface. So the rule number 1 is we cannot declare, and there is no need of declaring the object of an interface. So then what we will do is we will rather create the object of the class which is implementing the interface. That is, we have one class nexus is equal to new nexus. I create the object of my nexus class, okay. And similarly you can also create the object of the iPhone class as well. Say iPhone I is equal to new iPhone. We create the object of the iPhone class also. Alright, and with these classes you can simply call the call and the text function from these classes, since these two functions we have already implemented in the class which is implementing the just hold on. Okay, so I have this test phone class which has the main function inside it, okay. And as I explained you, we will not create the object of the interface, since we cannot achieve anything declaring the object of an interface. So rather we create the object of the classes, the nexus and the iPhone class, and with these classes you can simply call the functions declared inside the respective classes. Say call and the text function, you can simply call the call and the text functions inside it. Alright, okay. And let's see the execution also. So I'll also write console.read key, and let me just comment the main function of my Yahoo class. Hold on. Okay, and I say execute my script. Okay, so you see that it prints the result as well. Call someone, text someone from the from the Nexus class, and similarly the next two output is from the iPhone class, iPhone calling, iPhone text. Alright, so you can simply creating the object of the Nexus, the classes which is implementing the interface will help us understand the script, but then there is no need to declare the object of the interface, since inside an interface we are not doing anything. Alright, and I told you that the implementation will be different in the classes. The implementation can be different. Say for example, I told you how Nexus calls or how Nexus text, that will be different from the way the iPhone is calling or the iPhone is texting. Or say for example, in the Nexus class you can have extra functionality there, like Nexus phone may have the extra functionality of say public void Google Maps. Okay, say we know that this Nexus phone has the extra functionality of Google Maps in it. Okay, and inside this you print anything. So this Google Maps actually we haven't declared inside the phone interface. So then like this Google Maps is only the functionality of the Nexus phone itself, or of only the Nexus phone only, not with any other phone. So that is why we haven't declared this Google Maps in the phone interface. So if you try to call the Google Maps function from the Nexus class, we can simply access the Google Maps function from the Nexus phone, but if you try to access it from the iPhone phone, then you cannot do so. Because now why? It is because this Google Maps function is not present in the iPhone class, nor it is present in the phone interface, which actually is being implemented by the iPhone class. So that is why this Google Maps function is not accessible by the iPhone class. Alright, so the classes implementing the interface can have the extra functionality as well, but the functions which are actually present in the, which are actually declared in the phone interface, in the interface, that functions have to be present for sure. That functions will be present for sure if any class is implementing any interface. Alright, so that is one point. Okay, now again the second point is over here, as we are declaring only the creating only the object of the classes only, not the interface. So this is how you create the object of any class, right? Or else you can even create the object of the class as you say phone p is equal to new Nexus. I create the object of my Nexus class like this. Now what is the difference this is by this line also you are creating the object of the by this line also you are creating the object of the Nexus phone, and this is also creating the object of the Nexus phone. So then what is the difference between the two ways? Now out here what is actually happening is, in the second method what is actually happening is I have this interface with me. Okay, so I say reference of the interface. Now this p is the reference, this p is the reference of the phone interface, right? So you see that interface reference is being initialized to the object of the implemented classes. Okay, so this is another way how you create the object of the Nexus class. So now what is actually happening is we have this Nexus class with us. Okay, so when you say phone p is equal to new Nexus, then what actually happens is now phone, the reference of the phone interface is pointing towards the object of the Nexus class. The reference of the phone interface is pointing towards the object of the Nexus class. Alright, so this is now what actually happens. Okay, now now the difference between the two methods. Okay, alright, now in the Nexus class, when I create the object of my Nexus class as Nexus n is equal to new Nexus, then I am easily able to call the three functions n dot call, I'm able to call the call function, text function, and the Google Maps function. But say suppose I am creating the object of my Nexus phone like this. Phone P is equal to new Nexus. Then with this object of my Nexus class, I can call my call function easily. Then similarly, I want to call my text function, that also I can call. Similarly, I have one more function inside my Nexus class, that is your Google Maps function. Now this function also, if you try to call from the phone, you cannot do so. We cannot call the functions which are declared inside the class if you try to create the object of the Nexus phone like this. Okay, so if you are using the second method, then all the functions, then the extra functions which are actually declared in the implementing class, that cannot be accessed. Only the functions which are actually present inside the interface, those functions can only be accessed by this second way of creating the object of the class. Okay, similarly you can even create the object of the iPhone class as well in the same way. Say phone P1 is equal to new iPhone. Okay, you can create the object of the iPhone class also in the same way, and with this P1 object you can call the call you can call the call and the text function also, that will be actually called from your iPhone class. So then what is actually happening is we have now this as our iPhone class. Okay, and then when you say phone P1 is equal to new phone, then now P1 is actually pointing towards the object of the iPhone class. Alright, so this is what actually is happening inside the memory. Okay, or else what we can do is we can simply say keep phone X is equal to say null initially, and then you say that X is equal to, you create the object of any class which you want to create. Say suppose you want to create the object of the Nexus class, so you create the object of the Nexus class, and with this object you can call the call and the text function, so that also you can do. Alright, so same concept we will now apply in our Yahoo exercise as well. Say for example, I'll just uncomment this, and then we know that we have, as we have discussed in our documentation, WebDriver is an interface, right? So what we can do is that we will just initialize our WebDriver. I have the WebDriver interface which is actually present in openqa.selenium. This is actually your class. The namespace is openqa.selenium. Alright, so we have to import the openqa.selenium class. So you just hover your mouse, you see this yellow bulb, you click on this down arrow and you add the namespace using openqa.selenium. Okay, and you initialize your WebDriver, the interface WebDriver. I equated to null initially. Okay, and then instead of declaring each and every driver class separately, you will say that driver, if the browser equals Mozilla, then simply initialize, then simply open my Firefox driver, or if it equals Chrome, then driver which has to be initialized is your Chrome driver, and then we will then not have to declare the driver class, the URL command again and again. Or else if the driver equals IE, then the driver should be initialized to the IE browser. Okay, so after the opening of the respective browser, then after that we can simply say driver.url. Driver.url is, you give the URL of your login, okay, yahoo login.com, and I give the URL. Same thing. Now next, after navigating to the URL, you'll have to identify the username and all, username button, the text fields and all, everything. Okay, so then after I navigate, I will identify the username and all. So then now what we are doing is we are not writing the same command, same URL command or same code to identify the text field in each and every else if statement. We are not doing that stuff now. We have only, like, we will only write the URL command at only one place, and that will be called for the respective browser which opens. Okay, hold on. Alright, and then say suppose if you, and now why we are able to call the URL command from the WebDriver interface, because we have seen that this URL function is actually present in the WebDriver interface, right? So then if you have to print the if you want to print the title of the web page, then you can do that as well. So you will say that hold on. Okay, I say console.writeline and I say print the title of the web page. Driver.title will actually print the title of the web page, and then let me also write console.read key. Alright, and let me just comment this main function. Okay, and I execute my Yahoo script. So since we are saying that the browser is Mozilla, I want to work with my Mozilla browser. So it opens the Firefox browser, then you see that it navigates to the yahoo.com, the login URL of the yahoo.com site, and then it prints the title of the web page as well, Yahoo login, which is your and then say suppose if I say the browser which I want to open is my Chrome browser. Okay, I want to work with my Chrome browser. So then now if I execute my script again, it launches your Chrome browser, right? It goes to the login Yahoo URL as well, and then if you see, it prints the title of the web page also, Yahoo login, right? So now you see that the same script we can work with the different browser. So this was actually our exercise. Alright, writing the same, like calling the same script for the different browsers. This is how you can just do that.